Hey everyone, this is WobblyWallaby. Today I'm going to give you my July 2025 tier list rankings for Ragnarok Mobile Eternal Love for PvE. A lot has happened since my April 2025 video. Since last time, Nameless was released, the hero class for Assassin. Skill Inheritance was released, which further gave hero classes power by giving some iconic classic job skills to hero classes as well as to other classes as well. Next, the advanced rune system was improved, so now you're guaranteed second lines. As a result, now everyone can get 7 out of 7 core hero skills for hero classes after saving up enough decomposed runes. This is great news for free-to-play players and people frustrated with the old rune system. Next, there have been a lot of speedruns posted on the ROM unofficial Discord channel for Palace of Ghost. This has been a fantastic and great way to show the power of various classes, and I'll be including links to these Discord videos in the description as well. Also, as more powerful gadgets, guild buffs, memory equipment, and shadow equipment become available, many off-meta classes now have a chance to shine, so it's been refreshing to see tough instances being tackled with non-hero classes. Next, to keep the S tier the best of the best, I have limited it to a few classes. As a result, a lot of classes have fallen in rankings from last time, but I think it was necessary to do so since the S tier was getting a bit too large in my previous video. Next, let me define my rankings. In general, for a class to be optimal or efficient, that means for DPS it does AoE, has high damage frequency, has high damage modifiers, and that means enough that even a free-to-play to semi-free-to-play player can use it effectively. For optimal or efficient support, I define that as providing buffs for the whole team, provide debuffs on the target, and is effective even as a free-to-play or semi-free-to-play player. So S tier is the most optimal classes in the game, which are ideal for most PvE instances. For A tier, it's optimal classes in the game which can be used in most PvE instances. For B tier, they're great classes in the game that I'd use in many PvE instances. For C tier, they're decent classes in the game but more situational. And D tier are trash and inefficient classes. I'll now begin with D tier, the saddest tier of all. First is Blade Soul. The viable build was auto attack, but Nameless is the superior version, so this class is ruined by power creeping. Don't bother investing in this class. Next is Dragon Fist. Finger offense is the only viable strategy, but unfortunately not a 100% chance to recover the orbs unlike Ragnarok Mobile Classic, so even that high frequency attack can be interrupted. Also, no good AoE options. For one-shotting, Heinrich and Saitama outshine Dragon Fist and both have good high-frequency follow-ups. So don't invest in Dragon Fist, this once iconic class is really trash. Next is Hela. If you want to summon something to fight with you, this hero class is better replaced with Nameless or Klitzberg. Both at level 7 out of 7 hero passive, it can summon something and the classes themselves are strong. Hela is horrible, so don't bother. Next is Lightbringer. I used to have this higher in the tier list, but honestly this class is pretty horrible. The Pioneer and Machine Revolution combo can't compete with Heinrich or Saitama to nuke stuff. Also, Photon Cannon is garbage when compared to Genos if you want a non-stop beam of death. Next is Stellar Hunter. This class can clear stuff, but I find it's one of the most inefficient in the game. Even around 150% deposit, I struggle to clear Museum Legend, whereas hero classes can do this much easier. Fenrir power creeps this class like crazy, so don't bother wasting time on this class. Next is Tyrant. Although the bullet skills look cool, Tyrant has very bad damage modifiers, so don't bother investing in it, it's really bad. But I'm happy that Flytut got it to work in Legend Isles and Museum. I'll put a link to his pistol build in the description of this video if you want to feel inspired. Next is C tier. First is Apocalypse. Apocalypse can do well, but Sunlight is an absolute power creep of this class. If you've ever played Sunlight and then played Apocalypse, you can really see the level of difference. Before Sunlight came out, the only place I would use this in is Legend Museum 3F, since you can convert to any element, and that includes Ghost, which is pretty rare for many classes. Next is Arcane Master. It is possible to do magic DPS, but I wouldn't say it's more efficient than the other classes. Do it for the memes, really. And Mike's has a nice video with the auto attack build. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. But similar to Stellar Hunter, I'd say although you could do it, it's just very inefficient compared to other magic classes, so just a warning in case you're trying out this build for yourself and you don't have optimal magic DPS gear. Next is Begetter. I used to put Begetter higher, but I think it's C tier now. I really wouldn't recommend it to people. The damage modifiers are too low that it's not worth it. Also, the homunculus AI can be horrible sometimes. I personally prefer to control my damage myself than relying on bad AI. Begetter most shines when the target is weak to fire, since converting the homunculus damage to fire with Magnum Break has really nice damage modifiers for that situation. Begetter is nice when dealing with MVP or minis that reflect damage. That's probably the only situation where I use it in, since the homunculus are immortal so they won't die to the reflect damage. Next is Chronomancer, who can provide support and do magic DPS. If you want to feel inspired, you can watch Mike's solo pals that goes with it. It looks really cool for all the bolts to fall down like crazy and also do a crazy amount of damage. But again, what is possible is different than what is efficient or optimal. In this clip you can see my Chronomancer doesn't do a whole lot of damage because I'm not optimized for magic DPS. Next is Divine Avenger. I find it's only useful in TTL for bringing guards around, Museum Legend for grouping up bosses in 3F, and taking damage off DPS in Weister Airship. It's definitely a nice to have these days, but not mandatory, especially with Taunt coming to skill inheritance in the future, and this is because on the beta server I can see this, and Museum 3F can also be soloed pretty easily now by Sunlight, so Divine Avenger feels like it's gonna be obsolete one day, so I've lowered it to C tier. Next is Jormungandr. This class is amazing for PvP, but for PvE, if you want to do magic DPS, then choose something else. Being stuck to earth and temporarily fire isn't that great, and there are far better magic classes out there that you can use. In the past there were some use in Museum 3F, but Sunlight is definitely a more efficient way to deal with all these bosses. Next is Nidhogg, a hero class used for holy converting for Morok, otherwise not that useful. Even in the past before holy conversion, Nidhogg is primarily good for supporting one person as opposed to a saint that can support a whole party. So even now she has limited use and is quite situational, so I've demoted her to C tier. I'd only use her in PSR, Constellation Tower 5 and Weister Airship with Morok to wholly convert. Next is Phantom Dancer. This is a meme-worthy class to play with shadows that do damage, but despite being able to do well in Legend Museum and Isles, it stops being effective in the new harder instances, so I wouldn't bother investing in this unless you're happy with just dealing with Legend Museum and Isles. Next is Royamaru, an event-only class that's great at one-shotting stuff but has no good follow-up. Heinrich and Saitama are much better options, so choose that instead. Next is Slayer. Slayer is an event-only class. The devs haven't really touched this class in a long time, and they haven't rerun it either. Since there hasn't been any class balance for this, I wouldn't recommend this since it's quite a stale class. And from briefly trying it out before with Taekwon, I find this class is okay, definitely nowhere near as optimal as other magic DPS hero classes. Next is Solar or Luna. Solar or Luna DPS is very inefficient, and the only reason I put it here is they can provide some decent support. Although there are definitely better supports out there, which is why I put it at this current tier. If they didn't have good support skills, then this would definitely be a D tier class in my opinion. Next is Spear Whisper. The damage for both physical and magic Dorum is really bad, so definitely go with support. If you have magic DPS, then Spirit Whisper is great for that, but not so much for the physical DPS support. As a result, Spirit Whisper has limited use, which is why I put in C tier, although if you have a magic DPS to support, you can use this in any instance. Next is Yamada. Yamada's DPS is pretty bad, but it's okay for support. Yamada used to be used quite a lot in Weister Airship, but these days I don't see it used as much. I find other support classes can be used instead, so I find it's lost its popularity. Next is B tier. First is Linnea, a hero class who is insane in PvP, but in PvE she does fine as support and DPS. For PvE I find there's other classes more optimal, which is why I would invest in this. Next is Genos, who's an event-only class. No doubt Genos is very strong, and I was tempted to leave it in A tier. The issue I have with Genos is his mobility. I don't like that you have to stay still to channel to do your damage. Also, if the boss moves around, it can be really frustrating. But if you're soloing or coordinating well with your teammates, then it's okay, but this is definitely a nightmare when dealing with public parties. Next is Novice Guardian. The physical card tornado Novice Guardian has long since lost its popularity, but these days, Magic Novice Guardian is looking pretty good. I have seen its potential, but honestly, to be optimal, you need a lot of great gear. For this build, you're stuck to water and wind, but the damage frequency is crazy high. I'll put a link in the description if you want to see Mike's video where he uses Novice Guardian very effectively. But again, I think you need some pretty optimized gear and cards for this to work very efficiently. Next is Raptocracy, who is a hero class with one of the greatest survivability skills in the game. I have moved Raptocracy down because her damage isn't good enough to compete, and this is very apparent if you try her out in the new tougher instances. Surviving alone isn't enough, you need damage to back her up to make her great. Next is Ruin Master. There's too much investment for the value. The super carry in this game is Ronin these days, so your MDF gear is better used for that class instead. If you want a melee auto attacker, then Nameless is a much better option too. The amount of work required to hit those two classes in damage is definitely not worth it for Ruin Master. My big issue with this class is the lack of AoE. You would need to sub in Baphomet and lose on a big damage modifier. In Classic, they gave the Ruin Knight an AoE skill, which I think needs to be in Eternal Love as well. In Ragnarok M Classic, they gave Ruin Knight an AoE skill, which I think needs to be added into Eternal Love as well. That way you can worry less about AoE and go full on damage. Now every year I do invest in Ruin Master to see how good it can get, and it's definitely a struggle with the harder instances despite billions of Zenny in investment. Next is Soulbinder. Soulbinder is amazing for support. I learned how effective it could be when I collaborated with Built to Kill for his Soulbinder video. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check that out. But recently I saw Mike's solo DPSing White Star Airship 15, which is quite crazy to do with Soulbinder, and I didn't think it was actually possible. So it's nice that there is some damage potential too. Next is Thanatos. It is a hero class that is able to clear Palace of Ghosts, and I agree with the discussion on the unofficial ROM Discord channel that the damage cap is less relevant these days in the new instances, since higher damage is actually needed and not wasted like in Legend Museum or Isles, where you hit the damage cap very quickly. I saw Flighthut was able to clear Palace of Ghosts with it, which is nice. It's definitely not low tier as I had once put it. Next is A tier. First is Ancient Artifact User, who's an event only hero class. Thanks to Mike's for showing me the way for Ancient Artifact User, it definitely deserves to be up here, even with my unoptimized build. I could do quite well with it, and I do love that you can convert to elements, so it feels very much like a physical class. This class is like a hybrid class. It does both physical and magic damage, but you can also convert to elemental types, plus take advantage of both the physical and magic buffs, so it's quite powerful and you can take advantage of both. Next is Fenrir, an auto-attacking hero class. I used to consider Fenrir the best auto-attack class out there, but I think Nameless is definitely a competitor now. Without a doubt, Fenrir is a powerhouse. I personally don't like that Fenrir's most optimal build is stuck to water. I would prefer more flexibility here, but veterans of Fenrir say they stick with water, and even without elemental advantage, you can still do insane damage. If you like Hunter and want a class close to it, Fenrir is the power creep of Hunter and worth playing for that style. Next is Heinrich, the dual-wielding hero class. I started investing in this class once I saw Ezreal do insane speedruns with it in Palace of Ghosts. I'll put a link to his video in the description where he did Palace of Ghosts in about 33 seconds. He made it look so easy, and a really optimized Heinrich looks very deadly. But despite having plus 15 weapons, I'm still trying to get Heinrich to be optimal since I'm nowhere near his time. But this is a journey I'll continue progressing in. Now for boss hunting, Heinrich is the best non-event only class, quick speed, high burst, and also follow-up if needed. Next is Helgrihen, a hero class that's really good for Constellation Tower 5 and the reinforced affects for White Star Airship. It is free to play friendly as a support class since you only need 4 to 7 core hero passive. I personally use Helgrihen in parties to lower the refined damage reduction to help support the DPS. You can make a big difference, so it's definitely worth investing in. Next is Morok, who's a magic DPS hero class that does dark damage and has very high damage multipliers. Personally, I'm not optimized for magic classes, so I haven't had much luck with it, but I've seen Orisummer and Mike's use Morok very effectively in tough instances. I'll include links in the description if you want to see how it's done. If you have Nidhogg to Holy Convert, you'll even be stronger. So despite being stuck to Dark, you can still handle the tougher instances, so that's why it's definitely worth being here. Next is Nameless, a powerful auto-attacking hero class who can summon 2 copies of itself to do even more damage. It does lack spammable AoE skills, which is probably the thing I least like about this class, but it makes up for it with very high damage modifiers, and your skills are convertible too. It is capable of soloing tough instances in the game, and I've seen other people speedrun it in the ROM unofficial Discord channel. Next is Saitama, an event-only hero class that does amazing damage to a single target. He is the best MVP hunter in the game and has great high damage frequency follow-up. His skills are also convertible, which is great, and that makes him very flexible as well. The biggest problem with Saitama is his lack of good AoE. If he had good AoE, then he'd be no doubt an S tier class. Next is Sarah Allen. Personally, I find Sarah Allen to be very easy to play and my favorite magic DPS class that is not event only. Her primary damage is fire, although she can hit very hard and also at very high frequency, so it's quite good. She can also do poison or ghost, but I find those skills are less spammable, so her fire skill really is her primary DPS. Next is Thor, an event only hero class. Thor has very high damage, but his primary DPS skill is a single target and stuck to wind. Compared to many other physical DPS classes out there who can convert to any element and do AoE, he's actually not that great in that respect, but where he makes up for it is with his Lightning Cling. Lightning Cling is crucial for many instances, especially for grouping up mobs so they can be hit with AoE all at once. For optimal Constellation Tower 5 runs, he's definitely one of the top 6 classes. And same for White Star Airship if you want to speedrun it, then having Lightning Cling helps a lot by grouping things together so you can deal AoE damage all at once. Finally is S tier, the best of the best. First is Inferno Armor. Inferno Armor is especially popular for carrying White Star Airship and Constellation Tower 5. This is a physical damage DPS class with AoE and high damage frequency, but is stuck to Fire and Holy. However, even though it is stuck to these elements, it does quite well due to Sink or Swim. This will allow you to get absurd magic attack, which contributes towards your overall attack. For example, I'm able to get over 100,000 magic attack even with suboptimal gear and being solo. Some people have gotten around the Fire and Holy elemental type by converting to Dark. That way, if the target is water or fire, you can still do a lot of damage, and that's why Dark Convert is especially important these days. Next is Klitzberg, a powerful hero class with debuffs that's good even if you can't do a lot of damage. She is a staple in Constellation Tower 5 and anywhere where you want to lower the damage reduction for your target. This is the class I use the most for PvE since it's a simple class to play and is very powerful. This physical damage DPS class is also very flexible since you can convert her attacks to other elements, so she's often used in the Dark Convert meta as well. She also has nice AoE and high damage frequency, which is great. I have videos on various builds from 20% deposit free to play to pay to win. This is the class I most recommend to players as I've tested this out with a variety of power and it performs very well. Next is Li Maoxing. He's an event-only hero class who has insane damage potential and great support skills. He is the best magic DPS class in the game. Although you're stuck to water and fire, that combination does well almost everywhere. When I'm in parties with fully optimized Li Maoxings, it out-DPSs even some of my best classes, which really shows you how scary strong this magic class is. So even though my magic DPS gear isn't optimized, I can still do well in legend instances, and I use this in Oracle Elite 18 since he isn't affected by Sandstorm, which is annoying when dealing with Lord of House of Cards as well. When optimized, you can solo clear many of the toughest instances in the game, so it's definitely worth an investment, and I really hope they rerun this class. This is one of the top 6 classes used in Constellation Tower 5 because you can do damage and provide support, which is really the dream for efficiency. So even as a free-to-play player or semi-free-to-play, you can still provide a lot of impact just from your support skills. Next is Saint. Saint is the only classic job that made it to S tier. It is the best support in the game with great buffs, debuffs, and built-in dark converting capabilities. From free-to-play to pay-to-win, you can have a huge impact in a party. But lately, I don't like the direction the devs are going when it comes to Saint. First, the fact that skill inheritance has res from Song of Return can one day replace a Saint. One could imagine another DPS replacing Saint, but with the ability to res if needed. Also, with the release of the Child of the Sun card, classes are more efficient at dark converting, which was the role of Saint in the past. But at least on global, the card is extremely hard to snap, so we don't have easy access to it, so Saints are still needed. But even if you have that card, having a ratio helps a lot since it decreases holy resistance, so there's still some use with Saints. I do dread the day when Saint falls to A tier, but hopefully that won't happen anytime soon. Finally is Sunlight, who is honestly the best DPS in the game. In my last tier list, I had no idea how good Sunlight was, but thanks to Alex Otis for showing me the way. We were in a party and he destroyed Museum 3F solo in seconds. The great thing is, even though I'm not optimized, I could still take advantage of the absurd damage. Sunlight allows me to speedrun the most difficult instances in the game. She also has very large AoE with high damage frequency, so she can take down a lot of things at once, even Museum 3F solo. She can convert to any element including Ghost, so that's why she can take down 3F by herself. Alex Otis and others have been posting speedruns on the unofficial ROM Discord channel for various instances, and it's great to learn how to time her. She's a hero class, but not one you can go on auto. You need to carefully time your skills and be aware of your own capabilities. Due to her depth, she is now my favorite class to play and a lot of fun to speedrun with. So if you want a class that isn't linear and really fun, then definitely try out Sunlight. You won't regret it. For Sunlight, I've made one with my free-to-play 20% account, and the damage is also absurd as well, even without being 7 out of 7, so this has been tested to be great for various account levels. Now Alex Otis has an amazing clip where you can clear Palace like Ghost in 14.4 seconds. I'll put a link in the description of this video if you want to check that out. Finally, here's a summary of my tier list. I would definitely recommend S and A tier classes, but if you like the playstyle of classic classes or off-meta classes, the power level of the game is overall improving, so you can definitely try it out. You're just going to be really optimized for it. But that's really why S and A tier classes are what I recommend in general, since they're more optimal and can be used in most instances. So let me know your thoughts. I'm always open to feedback and I love to try out various classes and builds as well, so I look forward to reading your comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Here's the video that I'd recommend, and if you want more class recommendations, check out this playlist over here.